Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well and that you had a nice Christmas and a good New Year. My name's Rianne and I'm going to be taking you for the revision session this evening. Okay, so the first half of the session will be based on bookkeeping transactions, processing customer transactions, and then the second half we're going to move on to bookkeeping controls and have a little look at the different types of payment methods and also the different errors that happen within the bookkeeping system. Sorry, there's just a couple of people still joining the session. If you wouldn't mind keeping yourselves on mute during the session, and then when you have any questions or you want to participate in the session, if you can use the chat box, please. Sorry, there's still a couple of people still joining us. Okay. Okay, so first of all, we're having a look at the different customer transactions. So this task, you might get within it a sales document. So this could be something like a sales invoice, it could be a sales order, it could be a sales credit note, and it could be partially filled in and you need to fill in the rest of the information. Now, one thing, when you get this type of question, you need to be very careful with the calculation of the VAT and also with discounts as well. Sorry, just let me move this out of the way. Okay, so the sales day books. So remember, with the sales day books, we have all sales invoices that will be entered into the sales day book, and then you have sales credit notes, and they will all be entered into the sales returns day book. And then into the discounts allowed day book will be any prompt payment discounts that we allow our customers on sales. Okay, Rab, that's fine. I will do that for you at the end of the revision session, if that's all right. Yeah, okay. Okay, and just to ensure that you double check your answers when you're calculating the prompt payment discount, just go back and double check your answer on this to make sure that you're calculating it correctly. And we've got a bit of a practice of this today. So it says here, on the 8th of June, Blaze Limited received the following purchase order from Flickr Limited. The goods were delivered to Flickr Limited the following day. As a regular customer, Flickr receives a 5% trade discount from Blaze Limited. And here you can see that we've got a sales order. So it's got the item, it's got a description of the goods, we've got the quantity, and then we've got the net price. Then task A, it says complete the sales invoice below by inserting the relevant details. So first of all, let's have a look at the list price per unit. So if we have a look at the sales order, what would be the list price per unit? So we're told that the quantity is 600 units. And then we're told the net price is £150 for 20. So what is the list price per unit? Great, Elizabeth. Yes, £7.50. Yeah, brilliant, Melanie. Good. Yeah, so the list price per unit is a £7.50. Good. So that was just the £150 divided by the 20. So the next box, we have what will the net amount be? So the net amount before discount. So we know that the net per unit is £7.50. So the total amount will be 4,500. Good. So this is just the £7.50 per unit times the 600 units. Okay, so the net amount after the trade discount. So if we remember, they are receiving a 5% trade discount. So what will the net be after the discount? Thank you, Melanie. Well done. Yeah, so it's 4,275. Good, Elizabeth. Good, Paula. Yeah. So it's just the 4,500 minus the 5%. And then what would the VAT amount be on that net amount? £855. Good. So just in case anyone's unsure, it's the £4,275 times by 0.2 or times 20%. So therefore, what is the gross value on the invoice? Excellent. Yes, 5,130. Good. And if you do have any questions, if you're unsure during the session, just let me know. Just if you type your question into the chat box. Oh, someone's just joining us. Okay, so part B. Using the invoice prepared in part A, complete the entries in the sales day book. So here you can see we've got an entry for the sales day book. We've got the date, the 9th of June. We've got the details is Flickr Limited, and then we've got the invoice number. And we need to enter the total amount, and the gross amount, the VAT amount, and the net amount. So what entry would we put for the gross amount? Yeah, so the 5,130, yeah. We know the VAT is at 855. So what would we put there for the net amount? Yeah, good, the 4,275. So it's the one after the discount. Okay, part C. On 31st of May, Blaze Limited receives a cheque from a credit customer, Embers Limited, for £2,300 in full settlement of their outstanding account balance. Here's accounts for Embers Limited in Blaze Limited's sales ledger. So a cheque's been sent in for £2,300. And then we've got the details of Embers Limited's account. And then it says to answer the following questions. So what document should Embers Limited have included with the cheque? So with a cheque, what document would we accompany? Or what document would accompany that cheque? Would it be a purchase order, an invoice, delivery note, or a remittance advice note? Yeah, remittance advice note, good. But just remember, a remittance advice note accompanies payment, and it just advises what invoices, what credit notes have been accounted for within that payment. So is a cheque for 2,300, is it an overpayment or an underpayment? And then we need to find out what the discrepancy is. So this is quite typical of a question that you may get in the exam. So with this type of question, what would be the first step in answering it to find out whether or not this 2,300 is an underpayment or an overpayment? Yeah, good, excellent. Yeah, we need to balance off the T account. So we need to find out how much Embers Limited actually owes. So how would we do that? How would we find out the amount that Embers Limited owes us, or what is the amount that they owe us? Yeah, I get 3,800 as well. So Embers Limited owes us £3,800, and if anyone's unsure on how to get to that amount, all you'd do is you would go through, you would total up the debits and deduct the credits. Yeah, good. And so it's an underpayment, yeah, because really the cheque should have been for 3,800, but they've only sent one for £2,300. So it's an underpayment. So what does this discrepancy relate to? Yes, it's an underpayment of £1,500. So this is the £3,800 that's owing on the account, less the cheque for 2,300, leaves us with £1,500 too little that they've underpaid us. And yeah, it relates to invoice number 34637. Good. So they must have missed that invoice off when they wrote the cheque. No, I've done the numbers wrong here. I don't know. 34637. Okay, so let's just make a note of what the net was, ready for this next question. So we have a gross total of 5,130, net 4,275. Okay, so part D. So Blaze Limited offers all its customers a 2% prompt payment discount if they make payment within 14 days. How much should Blaze Limited expect to receive if Flickr Limited pays the invoice in part A within 14 days? Oh, did I miss a box? Sorry. We'll come back to that in a minute. Now I've started this one. Sorry. So we have the amounts. We've got the gross amount on the invoice was 5,130. The net amount was 4,275, and they're offering a 2% prompt payment discount. So how much would they pay if they paid within these 14 days? Yeah, that's the net. So how much would the total amount be? Yeah, good. So 5,000, 27 and 40. So for anyone who isn't quite sure, when you work out a prompt payment discount, you would always calculate it on the net amount. So we would do the 4,275 minus 2% equals a new net figure of £4,189.50. And then we would add on 20%, and that would give us our new gross total of £5,027.40. Okay, so let's just go back up to that box that I missed. Okay, so remember on this, so we had that the amount outstanding on the account was £3,800. They sent in a cheque for £2,300, and we said it was an underpayment. They paid us less than what they should have done. We said that it related to an invoice 34637. So how much does Embers Limited need to pay in order to clear that account? Yes, it's a £1,500 that was the underpayment figure. Good. Okay, so we're going to move on now to bookkeeping controls. So first of all, we're going to have a little look at the different payment methods, and then we're going to go on and have a little look at the different types of errors and which errors cause the trial balance to imbalance and which ones don't affect it. So there's lots of different payment methods. I'm sure you're already aware of these. So we've got cash, cheque, credit card, standing order, direct debit, backs, chaps and faster payments. Now, one of the main things I see when I mark work from students on this type of task is the ones that they get mixed up are these two, the standing order and the direct debit. Now, the key thing to remember with this is that a standing order is used for a fixed amount, the same amount that is coming out of the bank account each month. And the best thing to think of is rent. So it might be £600 rent every month. It's a fixed amount. Whereas a direct debit could be a varying amount. So it could be something like a mobile phone contract. If you think about a mobile phone contract, you have your normal contract with them, however much that may be, like, and then on top of that, if you go over your call allowance or your data allowance, then your bill will go up. So it could change each month. Same with your electricity. So a direct debit is used for a varying amount. Now, it's really important that you know the different types of errors in this unit. So first of all, we have errors that are disclosed by the trial balance, and this is where the error causes the trial balance to not balance. So first of all, we have a single-sided double entry. So this is where either just the debit side of the double entry has been done, or just the credit side of the double entry has been done. So this will cause the trial balance to not balance. So it will be disclosed. The next error, both sides of the double entry is posted to the same side. So this is where two debits are posted or two credits. So again, this will cause an imbalance in the trial balance. And then the last one is an unequal double entry posted. So it could be that a debit of £100 is entered and a credit of only £10. So of course that as well will cause the trial balance to not balance. So it will be disclosed. Now, there are some errors that don't cause the trial balance to not balance. So these wouldn't be disclosed by the trial balance. So the first one is an error of omission. And this is where a transaction has been totally missed off. And then we have error of commission. Now, error of commission and error of principal are two of the errors which students tend to get mixed up with. An error of commission is where the wrong type, is where the right type of account has been used, but it's the wrong one. So for example, an electricity expense, or in this example, they've put a telephone expense has been posted to the electricity expense account instead. So it's the right type of account, meaning it's an expense account, it's just the wrong one. So with that, it's still a debit, whichever expense account it's going to, it'll still be posted as a debit. It was just posted to the wrong account. So that wouldn't be easy to spot within the trial balance because it wouldn't cause it to not balance. And then error of principle. So error of principle is where the totally wrong type of account has been used. So it could be that an expense is posted to an asset account instead. So try to remember, error of commission is where it's the right type of account, such as an expense account, is just the wrong one. Whereas error of principle, it's the totally wrong type of account that's been used. So it could be an asset account instead of an expense account, or an income account instead of a liability account. Okay, the next error is an error of original entry. So it's where the wrong figure is posted on as both a debit and a credit. So that wouldn't cause it to imbalance because it's still the same figure, it's just the wrong one. And then we have compensating errors, so where two separate errors are made and by coincidence they just happen to cancel each other out. And then the last one is where it's a reversal of the double entry. So the debits and credits are entered the wrong way around, but it wouldn't cause this trial balance to not balance because there's still an equal debit and credit. Okay. So part A, show the most appropriate form of payment for each transaction in the boxes on the left by linking them to the appropriate form of payment in the boxes on the right. Just let me move this chat box somewhere. So the first one, a payment of £35 for a rail ticket. So which one would be better for this one? Yeah, good. So we've got a credit card. And with this type of question, if you're not too sure which one, because it could be different options, then work your way through the other ones first and then come back to the ones that you're not too sure of. Yeah, so a credit card. Quarterly payments of varying amounts for the telephone bill. Direct debit, yeah, good. So the key thing with this, although it's a monthly, well, it's not a monthly amount actually, it's a quarterly payment here, but because it's varying, it's direct debit. A payment of £500,000 for the purchase of a new shop. So these are your options. Good, yeah, chaps, good. So chaps is when you're bank transferring a large sum of money. Payroll payments to 150 members of staff. Backs, yeah. Sorry, the chat box is covering my screen. So a payment of £1,000 to a credit supplier. Let me scroll up. So paying a credit supplier, yeah, check. A payment of £3.50 for milk. Yeah, so it's only a small amount. I think it was cash up at the top, yeah. And then, yeah, standing order, good Elizabeth. So a payment of £600 per month to the landlord for rent. Yeah, so it's a fixed amount every month, standing order. Okay, so part B. So we need to show whether the statements are true or false. So purchases made using a credit card will result in funds being immediately transferred from the business bank account. False. Good. Okay, next one. Purchases made using a debit card will result in funds being immediately transferred from the business bank account. Yeah, it's true. Good. Purchases made using a cheque will result in funds being immediately transferred from the business bank account. It's false because, of course, it takes a few days to clear. Purchases made using faster payment will result in funds being immediately transferred from the business bank account. True. Good. Okay, so part C. So match each error description with the correct type of error by placing the appropriate answer in the table below. So you can see that we've got a pick list. So the first one, recording a rent payment as a debit in the telephone expense account and a credit in the bank account. Yes, I can see Elizabeth's put an answer in there. Anyone else? Yeah, so it's an error of commission. Good. So again, it's the wrong account. It's the right type of account. It's an expense account. It's just the wrong one. So the rent went to the telephone expense account instead. Okay, the next one, recording a rent payment as a debit in the bank account and a credit in the rent expense account. Okay, so rent, think about what type of account. So rent, we're making a payment of rent and they've recorded it as a debit to the bank account. Then they've done a credit to the expense account. So Melanie's right to put reversal. So it's reverse double entry. Yeah. I'll just show you why. Okay, so if we draw two little T accounts, so a rent account and then it's bank. So when we make a rent payment, the money will be taken out of the bank. So the asset of cash in the bank is going to decrease. So it will be entered on the credit side of the bank account. The rent expense account will increase, so it goes on the debt side, so it's a debit. Whereas in this, it says a rent payment as a debit to the bank account and a credit to the expense account. So they've done the opposite, so it's a reversal. Okay, and then the last part D, so show whether the errors in the boxes on the left are or are not disclosed by the trial balance. So the first one, recording a payment of rent as a debit in the rent expense account and a debit in the cash account. Yes, good. Yeah, so it would be disclosed because if we draw, sometimes it's easier to see it visually. So if we draw our little T accounts, so they've entered a debit in the rent account and they've also put a debit in the cash account. So it's going to cause the trial balance to not balance because there's not been an equal debit and credit. So it will be disclosed by the trial balance. Okay, next one, recording a payment of rent as a credit to the rent expense account. Yeah, so this one, so again, so it's rent, isn't it? Let's draw it out. So it's rent and then the bank. Now, when an account isn't mentioned, we need to assume that that account was right. So it was a payment for rent, so it would have been a credit in the bank account. They don't mention anything about the bank account in this statement, but because it's not mentioned, we just assume it's right. And then it says they've entered rent as a credit. So would that cause an imbalance in the trial balance? Yeah, so the error would be disclosed by the trial balance. And if you're not sure in the exam, remember you are allowed to take in scrap paper, so it can be quite handy just to scribble it out. And then the last one, recording a payment of rent as a debit to the telephone expense account and a credit to the cash account. Good. Yeah, so it wouldn't be disclosed. So if we were to draw it out, so it's payment of rent, so they've put it in the telephone. So it's an expense account, so it would have been debit and a credit to the cash. So the double entry is right. It's just the account is wrong. They debited the telephone account instead of the rent account, but it's still an equal debit and credit. I'll just double check there's no more. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for participating this evening. I will hold, stay on at the end. So if any of you have any questions, feel free to ask me.